You're listening to the Nutrition Experts Podcast, featuring guests who take the scientific talk about food and break it down for practical use. You've heard the phrase, "You are what you eat." Come find out what that really means. Experience conversations with experts in the field of nutrition and understand the power of food for our health, well-being, and beyond. Now, here's your host, registered dietitian and nutritionist, Mathea Ford.
Hi there, it's Mathea. Welcome back to the Nutrition Experts Podcast. The podcast featuring nutrition experts who are leading the way using food starts today, right now, with our special guest, Janet Brancato. Janet, it's great to have you on the show today.
Hi, Mathea. So glad to be back.
Yeah, so this is our monthly news edition where we kind of talk about the current events and what's coming up in the next month. And I'm excited to have you on the show and talk through our topics today because I think these are things that are just in general good to remember, but also very specific to the holiday season. So we just finished up Thanksgiving. Janet, what did you do for Thanksgiving?
So Thanksgiving, I had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I usually go to my mom's house. She has a full house of people on my husband's side and also my brother's family, and everybody brings dishes. So everybody helps out. She does the main event, which is the turkey, and we all help with the sides. So, and I love to do the roasted vegetables because that's something that I really love. So I bring that, and yeah, it was amazing. We had a great day of family and good food.
Yeah. So I love roasted vegetables because you really, I just love that flavor that the roasting in the pan gives them. You know, it's not in water or steamed, but it's got a depth to the flavor, I guess is the right way to say that. So that sounds awesome.
Yes, I like to roast butternut squash, cauliflower, broccoli. You can really, you use that sheet pan and some spices that you love, a little drizzle of olive oil. And like you said, it takes on a nice crisp flavor, brings out the sweetness of those vegetables, and everybody loves them, even the kids. So it's always a win-win.
So for my Thanksgiving, we had prime rib because it's my birthday. It was the week after Thanksgiving. So that's my favorite meal. And we have my nephew and my mom and my dad and my husband's mom and dad, and we had a great meal. And just so you're right, it's so nice to be together. And we actually had pecan pie, which the good thing is that it's not my favorite. So instead of an eighth of a pie, I just really took like a 16th of a slice. So, and then a little bit of ice cream. I love having that wonderful meal to sit around. We all put our phones away and just have a good discussion and talk about what a wonderful year we've had, because regardless of what has happened, we're here together as a family and we're having a wonderful year. So.
Yes, I agree. It's always a special time. And like you said, just to reflect on the things that you're thankful for, and family is up there at the top. So I totally agree.
Into some of our topics. This year, Starbucks has come out with some very good, probably the same ones they have every year, espresso beverages, different types of high kind of seasonal products. And I wanted to talk through because I think you can easily forget how many calories are in a liquid drink because it's so easy to just get the drink and drink it and not realize how much is in it. And so I wanted to talk through some of their seasonal drinks, maybe talk through the calories in a grande with like a 2% milk, and then compare to the calories in a different size or with some different changes. So a couple drinks I wanted to talk about was the eggnog latte, because that was really surprising to me. The eggnog latte for a grande, which is a 16 ounce with 2% milk, has 470 calories, 20 grams of fat, and 57 grams of carb.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's like how many teaspoons of sugar?
The carbs there, 57 carbs. I mean, you're up there with, definitely those carbs are up there. You're getting at least, what do we say?
I think you said like 14.
Yeah. I mean, they're not telling you the specific sugars there, but they're telling you the carbs. But definitely, you're looking at like 5 carbs, if you're going by the, each carb serving. So that's a lot. from a liquid. Like you said, it's a liquid. So usually you're eating something along with it. You know, you're having that nice warm beverage, but a lot of times you're eating something with it. So it's generally, a lot of times people are not just having that alone, and maybe they're having another little sweet component with it. So it can really kind of add up. And like you said, a lot of it has to do with the size. You know, so that grande is 16 ounces, but you can bring it down to a tall or even a short, which the tall is 12 ounces and the short is 8 ounces. So you'll still get that flavor.
So the short cuts it in half, basically 8 ounces, obviously 16 to 8, but you still get that flavor, like you said, that you want, but it's not as high in calories and carbs. It's only 230 calories.
Exactly. Yeah. So that would really bring everything down just by changing the size.
Yeah. And switching to non-fat milk. So you're getting a little bit less fat too.
You're getting less calories, less saturated fat. But some of these can be high in the saturated fats as well. The caramel brulee latte I was looking at was 40% saturated fat, 8 grams there. So, and that's the type of fat that can raise our lipids. So, we don't want to overdo the frequency of that. If you switch it to a non-fat milk, then you're bringing everything down. You're bringing that zero down to, you're bringing that fat component down to 0. So that will really help.
So in a caramel brulee latte with a grande with 2% milk is 370 calories, 6 grams of fat, and 66 grams of carb. But you're right, it's not all bad carb, but it's just a lot at once, especially if you're drinking it. So if you put in a grande with non-fat milk and you go down to a tall, which is the 12 ounce, it's 250 calories, no fat, and 51 grams of carb. So that cut out a whole serving of carb just by bringing it down to the tall size. It's still a lot. So I think, the important thing to realize is frequency and portion. Like you should not go through Starbucks and get a caramel brulee latte every day. There's also, which I already told you this is my favorite, but a peppermint white chocolate mocha. I don't even know if I want to talk about it because then I'll have to realize how much.
Even just the names and descriptions can definitely make you want to go there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
These drinks you have to look at like a dessert. That's how I usually look at them. If you really want to have a dessert and you're in the mood for it, again, you can go and get it, definitely. But maybe, like you said, have less, or maybe make substitutes there so that, it's not as decadent, but you're still enjoying the flavor. But I generally look at these drinks as the dessert.
Yeah. So a peppermint white chocolate mocha is 430 calories at a 16-ounce grande, 10 grams of fat, and 71 grams of carb. Let me see. So if I bring that down to just an 8-ounce with non-fat milk, and it comes to, trying to see. Oh, it's not even available in an 8-ounce. Oh, maybe it is. No. Oh, yes, it is. Okay. Peppermint white chocolate mocha has 190 calories, 2.5 grams of fat, and 36 grams of carb. So it's definitely an improvement, and you would get your little bit of flavor that you were looking for.
Bringing down the size, bringing it to a non-fat milk, or they have dairy-free options. You could get a soy milk and a coconut milk. So they do have dairy-free options. You can ask for no whipped cream. Some of them do come with whipped cream, but you can ask for a no whip. And you can ask for less syrup. They will do less pumps. You just tell them to go light on the pump or less syrup, and that will cut back on the sugar because a lot of the sugar is coming from those syrups.
I think they also have some sugar-free syrups.
Yes, they do have that too. You can ask for a sugar-free syrup, and that will have a Splenda in it.
Okay. So I think, those are good ideas for your favorite drinks if you're paying attention, because there's lots of ways to get extra calories during the holiday season. And so why not, try to manage that as well as possible. But I don't want you to give up. If you really love Starbucks and you really want a Starbucks drink, I don't want you to not take it, but I want you to pay attention.
Again, yes, a lot of it is just awareness, just building awareness and having a plan. You can have it. You can enjoy it. A lot of these flavors are only around in the holiday season. So again, enjoy. But like we said, maybe it's the frequency, maybe not, so often. Make it something special.
So speaking a little bit about portion control, I know we just got done with Thanksgiving, but we will have lots of opportunities to have similar foods like the green bean casserole, the candied sweet potatoes, mashed potatoes, turkey, ham, all those types of things, pumpkin pie. Let's talk about a little bit. I read this Consumer Reports article about how an average calories that Americans take in is 3,000 to 4,500 calories at a Thanksgiving meal. And that's really, I think, just because we can easily take 2 or 3 servings of a food without even thinking.
Exactly. Yeah, the foods are a little richer and the portions tend to be a little larger. Everybody's getting those either large portions at your first plate or you're going back for seconds or thirds, like you mentioned. So that's where it could really add up.
Eating a little bit extra calories on Thanksgiving or a holiday thing is not bad. It's because as long as you go back to kind of eating your normal healthy diet the next day. Let's talk about what are some normal portion sizes and how many calories those might have and how we might even be able to identify that when people are eating. Like mashed potatoes.
A cup serving is about 237 calories. So if you think of a measuring cup as a visual, that could be, like a typical serving size, although a lot of times we say a serving is half a cup, which is like a handful or an ice cream scoop amount. So a lot of times for those carbs, we tell people or advise using half a cup as a serving. But here in the article, they're mentioning a cup as a serving size. So, and that makes sense for a holiday.
Yeah, and they're saying the 237 calories is talking about making it with whole milk, butter, and salt. And really, you can use non-fat milk. You can use, 2% milk and replacing some of that butter with a low-sodium chicken broth. You need the broth and the milk to make it mashed and stick together, but you can change a few of those ingredients and make it a little healthier mashed potatoes.
Yeah, that's great. That's excellent. And I know some people, even for a lower carb option, do cauliflower mash, or they do half cauliflower, half potato. You could even do that and bring the carbs down a bit. But either way, even just by lightening up using, like you said, a non-fat, low-fat milk, and then the broth is going to give it nice flavor, little, you could use the low sodium, but it will give it a savory kind of flavor. I think it would be a nice addition.
Yeah, so green bean casserole. Did you have green bean casserole at Thanksgiving?
I did, yes. That's a good tradition.
I love that stuff.
I do too, yes.
It mentions a third of a cup, which is smaller than a half a cup. Is a serving is still the 227 calories because you use the cream of mushroom soup and the French fried onions. A regular half a cup of green beans, I think, is about 20 calories if you don't put all the other stuff in it. So you may consider doing that just a small serving, or you may consider not dressing them up so much and just doing plain green beans.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, even at Christmas, I just like a little drizzle of olive oil, some garlic, and some sliced almonds on it. Or sometimes just a little squeeze of lemon. And it gives it a nice flavor. You're tasting those green beans, where I feel like sometimes it gets lost in that casserole, but I think if you lighten it up a little bit, it gives nice color, festive, and it's really delicious. Green beans are very versatile. You could even roast them. I've roasted green beans, and it's a little crisper. So they're pretty, versatile, but you can definitely lighten it up a bit. And same thing when you're making that, if you want to make the green bean casserole, use maybe a low-fat milk or a non-fat milk. I think they have a lighter version of the mushroom soup too. You can really look for. And maybe add a little less of those fried onions, just at the top instead of throughout.
What kind of surprised me is the the turkey, or the main, what you're thinking about when you're thinking about the meal. Turkey, about the size of a deck of cards, which is about a 3.5 ounce portion, is just, and with the meat, white meat with the skin is just about 175 calories, and dark meat has about 200 calories. And That's almost the lowest calorie thing on the plate.
Yes, that's the protein. And that's the item that's really going to fill you up. So you could opt for a little more turkey and then go lighter on the other options, and it will really fill you up. You're getting for that, even just that 3 ounces, you're getting a good 27 grams of protein there. Trying to get at least 15 to 30 grams at a meal will fill you up and satiate you. So you're definitely in that zone of getting that protein that you need, just in a 3-ounce portion, which is like the palm of your hand or the deck of cards.
Yeah, and then there's some other things people like stuffing and sweet potatoes. Same thing, just a half a cup serving. You might look at the box and see what the serving size says it is and just pay attention to kind of how much you're taking. It is about the size of an ice cream scoop. Most people don't use an ice cream scoop unless they're in a commercial kitchen. So use the lower sodium broth. Think about, like you mentioned, so if you're using a box stuffing, you could chop up some cauliflower pretty small and maybe even some other veggies like carrots or celery and add it in, so that gives more volume, but the calories from all the breading and stuff in the stuffing is less because you're getting more of those vegetables, which are higher fiber, lower carbohydrate in your meal. I love that idea. I'm going to do that at Christmas, I think.
You could put mushrooms in. Again, they also really fill you up. They give you that savory umami type of flavor, that flavor that adds like a meaty texture to dishes. So you could add mushrooms to the stuffing. Like you said, you could add any vegetables that you love, that your family loves. You could really throw them in there.
Yeah, and you just, heat up your stuffing and then heat up the veggies, chop them up and heat them up and then mix them together. And that sounds really good. So, so let's talk a little bit about holiday weight gain, because I know that's something that people are concerned about a lot this time of year. I found this Time magazine article that talked about, it's from December of 2016, but it mentioned that people, even though they think they gain about 5 pounds, they gain about 1 pound, 1 to 1.5 pounds over that November to January timeframe, but they just don't tend to lose it. So then it comes back and just stays on your body, and then next year you add another pound, next year, and it just, people don't tend to lose that. So did you have any thoughts about kind of helping people manage their holiday weight gain, or how to approach it?
I always tell clients, if you could even maintain your weight over the holidays, it's not always a good time to be losing weight, because obviously you want to be part of the festivities. You want to enjoy the, all the holiday options and that type of thing. But even if you can coast through with your weight, that would be a great goal, And again, I think it starts with, like you said, being mindful, being aware, maybe how much you're eating or how often you're frequenting like a Starbucks or, something like that. Or am I exercising? What am I, doing to try to keep my lifestyle going? The holidays shouldn't throw off your lifestyle completely. I mean, obviously it's going to be a little bit more than what you're used to, but I think if you kind of tune in and have a plan ahead of time, watching portions a little bit more, making sure we're not skipping meals, because a lot of times what people do is they might skip meals, don't have breakfast, saving up all their calories for that one meal. They're so hungry by the time the meal comes that it's hard to watch those portions. They tend to overeat. So I say try to treat it like a typical day. Have your breakfast, have a lunch, maybe you need a little snack before you go. By being a little bit full, you'll be a little bit more apt to hold back on those extra portions or extra plates and that kind of thing. Keep your exercise going. Even if it's not the full amount of time, if you usually do a half hour and you can't do it, but you do 15 minutes, that's great. Just try to build in some activity into your day.
Well, and if you have Amazon Prime, you may not realize this, but on Amazon Prime, they have videos that are exercise videos. So even if you can't make it to the gym, if the weather's too bad, whatever, or you just don't feel like going to the gym, you can pop on one of those videos either on your computer, or a lot of smart TVs have Amazon Prime you can connect. And what I love about exercise is it helps reduce stress. And if you have, if you're affected by the less daylight or you have more stress at this time of year, a lot of times we miss family members that may have passed or other things that have happened. And exercise teaches your body to deal with stress, teaches your body to raise your heart rate and lower your heart rate quickly using those Amazon Prime videos or other videos. If you have a video on a DVD or something like that, YouTube is free and there's plenty of exercise videos on there that you can find different topics about. But I just love that exercise is good for that reason. I don't think about exercise necessarily, like you said, kind of doesn't help you. You're going to try to maintain your weight, but not being stressed when you're going to that family meal or going to out, for that party, if you're not feeling as stressed, you're not going to be as likely to overeat.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Stress. Exercise definitely counters the stress. And like you said, this could be a very stressful time of year. I know too that a lot of people get less sleep this time of year, which that's another factor that can affect our eating, our weight, because when we have less sleeps, those hormones or stress hormones tend to go up, and sometimes we have more cravings. So I know it's a tough time of year, but trying to keep up with your good sleep habits is another key component to overall, obviously, good health, but also helping with the stress relief and the holiday weight gain.
Yeah, and just another thought about what you're eating, try to pair, like if you have, say you brought home from Thanksgiving or a holiday party, a special dish that you really like, you brought home mom's banana bread that you really love, and you're going to eat it over the next 3 or 4 days, just make sure that when you pair that, which may be a higher sodium, higher carb, higher fat item, you pair it with something that's kind of the opposite. So you have that slice of banana bread with some salad mix or like a lighter sandwich. So it's not, you're not eating your full regular meal plus the dessert that you brought, but you're more making that part of the total plan.
Yes, maybe even with a protein, which might fill you up and satiate you a little bit more. Putting a little peanut butter maybe on that bread, or I don't know, something on the side. That this way you get that little flavor from the baked good, but then you're also pairing that with a protein that will fill you up, so you're not have to go for maybe more slices or something like that. It can help you with the portion control.
Yeah, I also think drinking water. So this year in about June or July, I gave up Diet Coke, and I love Diet Coke, and I miss it a little bit, but I drink pretty much plain water all the time. And I do find that the more water I drink, the less kind of hungry I feel in between meals. I just grab water, I drink it. And so you may want to add some water, even more water to your daily meals. If you're used to drinking sodas, try to drink, a little more water so that you're staying hydrated and you're not, it helps you not feel as hungry.
Yeah, and I find that water actually energizes me. Like I can feel a little sleepy middle of the day, and I drink, a cup of water or maybe half of my bottle, and somehow like my brain wakes up. I feel more energized. Yeah. So when you have that midday slump, try to go for drinking more water. Really try to make sure you're well hydrated.
Yeah, and I really wanted to end this news edition talking about mindfulness, because in addition to stress and all the available food, I think being mindful can help lead you into a good place for the coming year. And instead of thinking about diet, you're thinking about different ways that your food feeds your body and feeds your soul. Some of the mindfulness tips, I found this on the Health Harvard blog from 2015, but they mentioned some tips for eating more mindfully. Their first tip was to reflect, and it was kind of like taking a minute before you start shoveling the food into your mouth to think about what are you getting ready to eat, and being a little bit maybe grateful for that food that's in front of you, grateful that you're there with your family and why you're there.
I love that. I think that's so important. like you said, just reflecting and, taking that time, like you said, for the gratitude. And just that, like you said, you have that food in front of you. It's such an awesome thing, and just slowing down. I think that so much of our lives are rush, 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 and even the meals become rushed. And we're not even tasting them. We're not even savoring them. We're not enjoying them. So we feel like we need more because we don't feel satisfied. So I think, like you said, even just stopping for a moment before you put that first forkful. And again, how do you feel? Like, do you feel ready to eat? Are you maybe take a breath for 5 to 10 seconds, and before you put that bite in, and really just start to slow down, eat it nice and slow, and savor it.
Yeah, they also mentioned sitting down instead of standing. So instead of grabbing a plate of food and standing around and eating kind of without thinking about it, sitting down, focusing, not having the TV on, not having your phone there. And something else that I have my kids do is they have a tendency to grab the bag of chips and take it to their room. And I'm always like, serve yourself a portion in a bowl, put the chip bag away, and you can eat that. And then instead of just mindlessly putting the food in your mouth.
Yeah, that's an excellent tip. And, your hand is a good tool for a portion size. Just take a handful. If you have a bag or a box, obviously if you don't want to stick your hand in, you want to just serve it out, but you could pour it into your hand. Your hand is a great serving tool. You take it wherever you go, and it could be a great, portion size. Or you could read the label if you really want to see what a portion is. You could flip that bag or box over and say, oh, it says, 5 crackers, or, I don't know, whatever it is. You can pull those out, put it, like you said, in a little napkin or a small plate or something like that.
They mentioned chewing 30 times. I had an aunt who did this, and I think her stomach loved her for it. I know it's hard to chew 2 or 3 times if you're not even thinking about it. So just chew your food a little more before you swallow. It gives your body a chance to start those hormones and stuff that then tell your brain when you're full and allow you to kind of stop.
Yes, and I think, too, you take in less air, which could definitely cause gases and GI upset. Some people have stomach aches or feel bloated after meals. And if they're eating very fast or chewing very quickly, they might get more gases, as well. So I think, like you said, slowing down, chewing more, just helps you to really enjoy those bites. It's better for your digestion, and you'll get those full sensations. You'll get that full feeling.
And putting down your utensil between bites. So we have a tendency to eat, stick it in our mouth, and go grab the next thing before we're even done chewing. And when you chew 10 or 20 or 30 times, that will help you to put your utensil down, chew that bite fully, get the full flavor out of it, and swallow. And feel, like we said, feel full quicker because your body has that time to adjust to what you're actually feeding it instead of being behind. When you eat really fast, your body doesn't have time to tell you, hey, I'm getting full. So
exactly. Yeah. And also when you put that fork down, that's a good time to maybe take a sip of your water, make a drink of your water. That could even help with the process. Enjoy the conversation with your family if you're with other people. So really making it more of an experience rather than a rushed activity.
Yeah, and maybe even using a smaller plate, taking smaller portions. And because the thing about mindful eating that's always reminds me is those first couple bites are really good, and I really feel the flavor and I enjoy that flavor. But after 4, 5, 6 bites, it doesn't give me that same amount of satisfaction. Eating slower, eating a smaller portion, and really enjoying and savoring that portion, you might find that you really don't get the satisfaction out of eating the whole amount that you used to eat because you got the satisfaction from enjoying it and eating it a little slower.
Yeah, that's great. Definitely. That's another key.
Any other thoughts on mindfulness?
Yeah, and then when you feel like you're getting full, that's when you stop. I know they say resign from the clean plate club. A lot of people feel like we have to clean our plates or eat everything that's on the plate. But if you're full, your body is kind of telling you to stop. and you can always wrap it up. You could always have it for lunch the next day or another meal. Don't feel like you're going to throw it out. So tune into your body. The thing with mindfulness is that you're tuned in. You're in the moment, and you're checking with your body. Your body is telling you. So really try to listen to it and tune in. It gets easier as you keep doing it. Maybe it sounds a little strange, but as you practice it, it does get easier and your body feels better.
Just remember, kind of with the holiday weight gain and almost everything we talked about today, it's really about portion control. It's about thinking about what is a serving and enjoying that food and enjoying the company.
Excellent. Yep, all good tips.
So Janet, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. I know our listeners love listening to this news edition every month. So if listeners want to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
Okay, Mathea. Well, thank you so much for having me. They can find me at mynutopia.com. I have a virtual private practice, also a food blog, and meal plans and recipes.
Great. Well, guys, this has been another great episode of the Nutrition Experts Podcast, the podcast that is all about learning more so you can do more with nutrition in your life.
You've just listened to an episode of the Nutrition Experts Podcast. Be sure to get more information about this week's episode at www.nutritionexpertspodcast.com. Tune in next time for another great conversation with a nutrition expert and expand your personal knowledge in the field of nutrition, one conversation at a time.